So for the first time since 1990, no rap songs appeared in the Billboard Hot 100 Tops 40, with Kendrick Lamar's and SZA's 13-week Billboard Hot 100 Luther falling off the list. I think Megan has...
Yeah, she appeared on
She's number 38 this week.
So she's back on there. But this isn't just about rap lagging. It's about a quote-unquote regentrification of the charts, I guess, if you will. Other genres of music may be starting to shift the culture instead of hip-hop. Maybe that's more of a thing. Be interesting. Or maybe it just goes back to straight pop music. I don't know. But question. Does this chart absent reflect a quote-unquote crisis for the hip-hop culture itself?
Absolutely not, man. And it's annoying that people have put so much emphasis on this Billboard Top 40. Like, when people always ask me, like, what style of DJ are you? I always lead with, I'm not a top 40 DJ.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't rock with top 40, never have. Now, if you had a Jet album list of the week, that's more so where I think I would center. I had way more credence for a Jet record, an album of the week or month or whatever, than I ever paid attention to Billboards.
I used to open that up and go straight there. Well,
was it.
After I went to Beauty of the Week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Depending on how old I was at the time.
It was part of the, you know what I'm saying, the ritual of looking through a Jet magazine.
Just like highlights. You go directly to the page where you're finding the little things.
That's what it is. So like I've never put a whole lot of credence on rap music being top 40. Like even if you look at my top favorite like rap songs, albums, none of those were included in the top 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of Outkast songs never made it to top 40. A lot of Nas songs, a lot of Tupac songs. You know what I'm saying? Biggie. I mean, they never made it to top 40, but that doesn't take away the impact that they had on the culture. To me, it's making you look deeper into it versus somebody programming you and telling you what you're supposed to listen to. It really rubbed me the wrong way when Academics was like, I blame all these media people because they shit on Drake and this, that, and the other, and now they need him. Who defines Drake as the person that's supposed to be the hip hop based on just because he's on a pop chart?
Well, that would be Academics, who only cares about numbers, whose number, that's that, which he's, you can say he's of hip hop culture if you want to make that argument, I guess, whomever, but like all of his arguments are about numbers.
That's all it is.
So he doesn't break anybody unless they're going to do numbers. So what are we talking about?
It's never been about being on the Billboard. Like, that's why it's just like, it is what it is. I really don't care. If anything, hopefully it makes people that only think about numbers maybe be a little bit discouraged about actually making rap or hip hop music.
Hopefully.
So that we can filter people out and get back to where we was at.
Yeah.
Because it was better and more enjoyable before we start paying attention and relying on being included in this top 40 shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think it has anything negative to say about the culture, not the culture's impact. Also, one of the things that if, people just read the headlines, Billboard changed, part of the way it counts records.
Yeah, because Luther should still be on there.
Yeah, as far as like the recurrence and songs that have been in a certain position for a certain amount of time, it's almost like they're weighted differently. And, and then you got the fact that like every song on the new Taylor Swift record is like in the top 20 or 25 right now. So it's like pushed a lot of things that should be higher down, So I think that this is
K-pop Demon Hunters too.
K-pop Demon, yeah, they got like three or four joints.
They got more than that.
But when I look at people have these discussions, a lot of it's just based in people's biases against artists who, specifically against Kendrick, because they see him as, well, he got Drake out of here and Drake held down the charts for so long, and it's like, look, Drake still has one of his records is still in the top 100 on just the on the albums chart. So it's not like they got him out of here. It just hasn't made records that are worthy to be at the top of the pop chart. Because
if trust like he ain't making music no more.
Exactly. It's not like, so that's that. And you got to understand, man, like really as a culture, when my golden era, because I feel like everybody has a golden era, but like when that time, I'd say between like 92 and 97, that 5 years, like I can't tell you the chart position of Cream or Incarcerated Scarfaces or Life's a Bitch. Like, I don't know.
And it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter because it's 30 years later and those songs still move the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't let their metrics have anything to do with how we feel about our culture.
Why do you think it is that people are saying that it is a crisis, though? Byron, you got any?
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast earlier today, and they said it really is not. If this says nothing about the consumer, it says everything about the industry. As far as the amount of money that they're willing to invest in making these records bigger.
I see.
You know what I mean? Because they're not putting money in. They're not paying these radio stations to play these records like they were at one point in time, and there's no real media push behind a lot of these records anymore. So I tend to agree with that.
Grand equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
If the chart isn't the final arbiter, which I don't think it ever really has been to really anybody sitting at this table. I mean, I don't want to speak out, but
no,
out of term, but like how can we measure, hold on, comma.
Comma chameleon.
She want to put in her 2 cents.
She's like, hey, I got some shit to say.
It was like,
I hear you over there growling. Shut up. But yeah, no. So if the chart isn't the final arbiter, how can we measure the health and influence of a global culture like hip hop? Is there a way to measure that maybe does make more sense than what we have always done, which is based upon numbers? Or is there just no way to measure it? Or
I think here in the United States and globally, who can actually tour and do hard ticket sales? Who can actually, doesn't have to be wrapped up in a whole festival and can come to your city and, have people to get up and off their couch and in their comfortable homes in front of their warm televisions and actually come see you. Yes. So like if you hear about hip hop artists who are like, yeah, maybe I'm not super hot over here, but I saw a thing where Das Effect says I can still go overseas and sell tickets and get my money. If it gets to a point where all of a sudden, like, nobody is willing to come see rappers perform, and all of a sudden, I remember at one point they were like, oh, all these big concerts were not pulling in, the numbers they thought they were, but that was across the board. That had nothing to do with hip hop. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that is the greed of Live Nation, but that's another conversation. But I think that's where the measurement is. I'm not worried about these manipulated streaming charts, these radio charts that don't reflect anything but what a programmer likes and what they've been paid to play. Once again, we, the three of us went to go see Little Brother. Like, there wasn't, I knew the concert was happening because I'm a fan and, through their social media, it's not, they didn't even have new records out to even try to promote. It was just like, okay, this is a hip hop group I want to see. Because they don't have a chart history, you just assume there are people who would be like, why would anybody go to see them? Well, that's the disconnect between people who follow things that are purely based in fabricated metrics and people who are actually a part of the culture.
Yeah, and it goes back to what the culture is feeling. Culture ain't feeling Billboard, never has. You know what I'm saying? It's never moved around the energy of a Billboard chart. So, like, why are we putting so much weight or so many eggs in a Billboard basket? It doesn't add up at the end of the day. Again, most of the popular, in my mind, hip hop songs never made it to the Billboard chart. Some of my favorite artists aren't even mentioned in any of these award shows either. But that doesn't take anything away from the culture that it is, regardless.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. But at the same time, it was us that brought the Billboard numbers and all that to the forefront. It was Jay and 50 where that became a thing, and that was the narrative that the fans began to run with. You know what I mean? Like, that's who made it important. You know what I mean?
That's
Jay
true
and
too.
50.
Yeah.
If you're not selling these records, then you're not hot. Well, that's not necessarily the case. You know what I mean? We made it important, and unfortunately, it's the common listener that, like, they're the ones that ran with that narrative.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And they grew up to be academics.
Yeah. That there's a lot of truth behind that. The difference is between that is we were fans of those artists as well and still listen to the other artists. It wasn't like I'm listening to you tell me exactly what to do and who I can listen to. That's not part of the culture in itself, that somebody can just tell you everything to do. I mean, part of hip hop and being a part of it is kind of the renegade black sheep of the family type of shit. You never were the one that was up front. It's always been the one that's been pushed to the back. And I think they were applauding being top sales in that genre based off of what was going on in the past. It kind of was like them carrying a flag, like we finally won, and that's why they were kind of bringing light to it essentially. But you are right. It definitely did switch whenever Eminem, Nelly, Jay-Z, and all of them were at the top of the charts all the time, because that was kind of a measuring point as far as success is concerned, and also based off of touring and all of that type of thing. But in the same token, I was still rocking, and I can speak for everybody here, was still rocking with people that weren't even mentioned in those conversations. And they were still the artists that were dropping the best shit to me.
Yeah.
And also, let's not forget, there is a hip hop chart through Billboard that is specifically catered, and there's some
to hip hop.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, a lot of those artists that, might only hit number 84 on Billboard's, traditional, top 100 chart, those were number one songs to people who actually were about hip hop.
I just don't like. I understand what you're all saying to some degree. I agree. I think I just have a fundamental problem with maybe the whole like question in general, or the statement around how do you measure the health and influence. I guess influence, maybe, like, you can definitely measure influence by numbers, but the health is something I don't think is something that can be measured by numbers.
No.
And I feel like to some degree, the more popular something is, it feels like it just gets worse, because it
starts to lose its spark.
It's just because it becomes something else almost. And even then, like, to what you said, Terry, it's like, like, sure, all these, it's great that, like, when Kendrick ascended and became this big hip hop artist, we like that he ascended because of who he was and the type of artist and what he represented, the same way Jay-Z was in the same type of way. But then we may not feel the same way if, Chingy's up there, maybe we would, I don't know, Jay Moore probably would, but no, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I don't like anything that, like, pulls anything. I don't feel like it's something that can be measured. I guess is almost kind of what I'm saying. It's just like, you can't really measure the health and influence of something in any type of productive type of way. No. I don't think.
Growing up, for me, the most important chart for me was on the back of Jet magazine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Like, what they told me, the number one R&B record. And at the time, hip hop wasn't a thing, so you might catch a hip hop record in there every once in a blue moon.
I remember being happy when a hip hop record snuck into the Jet chart.
Yeah, that's what was important to me.
Yeah. But again, it's just like it's another chart. It's another group of random people ranking something.
Yeah.
That we may or may not agree with.
I think that was measured by radio spins.
So yeah, I feel like the entire ideology is just flawed. In general, it's like
popularity instead of content.
We can have this conversation about, this is Kendrick's the biggest artist in the world and all this other stuff, or, in hip hop in the last year but I can also say at the same time, like, I'm a Kendrick fan, but he is not my favorite artist. And, like, there's a lot of artists out here that I would probably rather listen to on any given day that is not him. But he's a commonality. Like, I can talk about Kendrick and other people are going to know about him. So it's like a common piece. I don't know. I'm just rambling, but
he possesses he
wear the crown.
Both of the pretty much traits that would still classify him as hip hop, and he's crossed over to pop star status.
Just happens to be a pop star.
Yeah.
So,
but the pop star part has nothing to do with the actual music he makes, but just based on the metrics that his music produces.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about pop stars, The king of pop can never be topped. He is back on the charts again. And he has been gone for years.
Yeah, people.
This is king of pop type shit.
Look, man, just the same way they talk about how Mariah Carey got Christmas on lock.
Come on, man.
Here come Thriller every year to drop pop back in the top 40.
Yeah.
So,
and when we talk about artists being on this chart that people have so much credence, have given so much credence to, a lot of y'all will never make it back to this chart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, there have been people who have been at the top. Look, I mean, I know he's got some other mental health stuff going on, but, you know, what's his, Lil Nas X? Like, he holds the record for the longest number one, you know, consecutive. And, like, his career is over.
Yeah, it's over. Another key factor, too.
And I haven't heard that song probably with the Old Town Road. I haven't heard that song in 3 or 4 years.
Nah, man. Another key factor, too, about hip-hop being on the charts. If no hip-hop was in the top 40, majority of those songs were influenced by hip-hop when it comes to, like, the sounds and the beat patterns and things of that nature.
Including the country records.
Yes, it's hip-hop influence. So it's like you want to use the influence but get rid of the artist on this pretty much made-up list.
You know, and a lot of people, like I've seen a lot of commentary, either they make it about Kendrick, or honestly, they engage in a certain level of just anti-blackness because they say, oh, well, the influence is gone, and it's because they're making this, you know, ghetto music, you know, that doesn't translate. And it's like, you know, you can throw your dog whistles out there. I know what you're doing, you know, and I think that's a sad part of it. You know, and the thing is, you hear that from, well, no, because, you know, bum-ass Jason Whitlock,
God bless.
That was part of his commentary, but. You know, but whatever. But like, I think that's part of it. It was like, okay, we're just tired of blackness being a part of everything and being so prominent. You know, just like we saw this week, they decided to split
black
up.
fatigue, Jay.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That's what they call it.
Yeah. I've heard that term, but it was actually supposed to be something else. But
it was co-opted.
But of course, you know, same thing with woke. But you know, they split up the Country Music Award. You know, I think partially because Beyonce won Country Music Album of the Year, and then like there's such an influence of black culture. I mean, Shabuzi, when I said the consecutive like longest running number one, he's number two.
Yeah, what do they call it now? Contemporary country and
traditional
country.
I mean, they've done this sort of thing kind of with other genres, but
they
it's
did it with
like
R&B.
But at the same time, like, you know what? If you didn't want to make it seem some kind of way, don't do it the year after Beyonce wins Country Music Album of the Year.
Yeah.
You know? So
even with the whole Lil Nas X thing, it was on the country charts.
Yeah, they didn't want
and
that.
And then they didn't want it. So they decided to remove Billboard, actually, entered him on the country chart, and then decided that it didn't possess enough elements of country and removed him from the country part and put him on the top 40 or the rap hip hop part of it, whatever they did. But yeah, I mean, they're just making their own rules at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to the fact that I had this conversation today. Like I don't think that genres matter, but I also understand that like genres are a way for us to classify things, and us as humans are predisposed to liking to classify things and put things in categories. And so we like it, even though it doesn't really matter. And this is just arguing over stupid shit, really.
Yeah. Because honestly, if you think of a hip hop purist, they couldn't even tell you who the artists are on the top 40 at any given point in time.
They couldn't even tell you. A lot of hip hop purists couldn't even tell you dope hip hop past year 2000. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like making your own rules is kind of like the way of the world right now.
Yeah.
You know,
specifically the United States of America.
You change things however you feel like
on
it
the
as
fly.
they go.
Like, all right, we're gonna just change it.
Yeah.